Hello and welcome to the Football Pyramid Talk podcast, episode 2. We've made it to episode 2, lads.
Yeah, buzzing.
Little
Come on.
round of applause.
Yeah.
Dad didn't think it was going to get this far, did you?
Nice turn back up.
Yeah, we got
Oh,
Dad's
he's off
joined.
already.
He's already. He has joined us again for this one, and we're here with George as well.
Yeah. Hello, everyone.
This, as I said, is the second episode of our podcast. This one is going to be very similar to the first episode, but just on National League South this time. We haven't done any information on National League North because we're Southerners, so we've ignored that. But I do want to give a shout out. Want to give a shout out before you speak, George, to Chorley FC, my mate Matt Swift on the coaching staff. If you're listening to this, we're rooting for you with this upcoming season.
Come on, the boys. Come on, the boys.
Surely. Thanks for everyone that listened to the first episode. We've had some good feedback. We've taken it on board. We're going to make sure that we're not rambling on as long this time, for sure. And keep our phones straight so we're not upside down on the YouTube. But with that being said, we will move on. Yeah, as I said, National League South is the league that we're covering today. Step 6 of the football pyramid, step 2 of non-league, and went viral last year. I think we touched on it in the first episode for just how good it was. And we went out to watch 2 games at the back end of it in the running, didn't we?
Yeah, Dorking, Worthing and Worthing, Eastbourne Borough, I think. The two. Yeah.
And they were good games. So we'll move straight on to AFC Tottenham. That's the first club. We'll do it in alphabetical order again. Club based in Hampshire. I actually did a bit of coaching for them when I was at uni.
Oh, nice.
In the junior football. Yeah, formed back in 1886. Played their home games at Testwood Stadium in front of 3,000 people, so not too shabby. Last season they were promoted to the National League South after a playoff final victory versus Gloucester City. Their manager's Jimmy Bull. He's been at the club since 2022. He was the interim manager of Forest Green before moving to the Stags. Last season, they had a familiar name up front, didn't they? I think you guys watched them play.
Yeah, we did. Lewis versus AFC Tottenham side in the FA Trophy. Charlie Austin.
Yeah.
I think it was 2-0 in the end, wasn't it? And he came on. Did he start? I think he started, and then
he played.
He hasn't done anything in the game. I haven't seen him, and then all of a sudden, ball gets whipped into the box, header, goal. He just turns up, and then Tottenham went through to the next round, and in the end, I think they did really well in the competition, and of course, have been promoted this season. So yeah,
that's that quality that he brings, but unfortunately he's left the club, so they're going to be about him. Does pose a big problem in my eyes for him. A few other departures, not really too sure on the others. He's definitely the major outgoing, but they have replaced him with J. Emmanuel Thomas. I don't really know much about him, but George, I think you know a little bit about.
Yeah, I think he was good in the EFL at just like 2010 to 2020. I think he's been involved with some legal action recently, but I think it's his first time returning to the football pyramid since then. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. It's certainly a replacement in experience from Charlie Austin. So yeah, I think he'll bring some key aspects to his game to the club for their first season in the National League South. So yeah.
Yeah. How big a miss do we think Charlie Austin will be? I think he scored like 30 odd goals last season, didn't he? Correct me if I'm wrong, but he's banging in the goals.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's a clinical striker. We've known that for years in the Premier League and the Championship, especially. A few years ago, I mean, when he came into the club, it was a shock after, I think he was in the EFL a season before that, and then he dropped down about 5-6 levels to join the club. And he was a real key part, I think, for the manager and coaching staff and the players really bring that key experience into the club, which in the end brought them promotion into the National League South. So, yeah, I think it will be a massive miss for them, but some decent replacements into the club to try and help that replacement be replaced in a proper way. But for my prediction, I have unfortunately got them down in 21st place. I think just the loss of Charlie Austin, what he brought to the club, was quite crucial for them. And I think the replacements and signings they bring in are just not. I don't think they're going to be good enough for the league. And being their first time, I think we saw in the Eastbourne Premier Division, some squads literally just had a full squad takeover, completely new squads used to the league, and I just don't think Tottenham have done that good enough. But I hope they prove me wrong. So yeah, 21st for me.
Yeah, I've got them down in 20th, so I think they'll probably stay up, but I think you can't, at that level of football, you can't replace the experience of someone like Charlie Austin. That game that we saw at Lewis, he was virtually anonymous for the whole game until he scored, and then the goal he scored, nobody else on that pitch would have scored that goal because it was a quarter chance at best, but he just pounced on the chance. And
yeah, it was like a header near the box, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just like powered into the bottom corner.
Yeah, but it's not the sort of goal you usually see at that level.
Yeah.
It just, they're going to struggle. So yeah, I've got them 20th.
Yeah, I actually have got them 20th as well, Dad. So I agree with you there. So we'll see. Moving on to Bath City, club based in Somerset, been formed since 1899. So a few long-standing clubs in this league already. Play their home games at Twerton Park. If I've mispronounced that, apologies. In front of 8,800 people as well. So proper capacity. I think doing the research, that's highest capacity in the league. Maybe Torquay.
Definitely up there. Yeah, definitely up there.
I think Torquay might be the only one that's above that. But yeah, they've been in National League South since 2013-14 season, so they are floating a little bit. Last season, comfortably finished 15th. Neither pushing for promotion or fighting relegation, so a little bit of a floater, as I mentioned. Their manager Darren Way has been at the club since 2024, and he had a nice professional career as well, playing for Swansea and Yeovil. So he brings a little bit of experience there for sure. And they actually played Yeovil in pre-season, lost 3-1. Played Bristol Rovers, lost again, and they've actually only won one of their pre-season games. So it's not looking that good in terms of pre-season, but can't really judge too much and really take much notice of pre-season, I don't think. What do you guys think, being in the league for so long? How do you think that affects them, and what kind of season do you think they're going to be looking at?
I think it's going to be another mediocre season for them. I don't think they'll go down. I don't think they'll challenge for promotion. I've got them down in 16th. I mean, they've clearly capable of playing at this level, and their squad's not really had that much churn, 4 out and 3 in so far in terms of pre-season. I think the nice thing about Bath City, apart from the huge capacity, is that they're located in that sort of area where they could pick up a lot of loans from clubs that don't have other clubs near them. So if you think Plymouth and Exeter are not that far away, that's quite a good place to send players on loan. So I would have thought that if they ever got themselves in trouble in terms of relegation, they'd end up getting players from Plymouth and Exeter on loan. They've already got a couple of permanent signings from those clubs in the pre-season, so they're just going to tread water for me. I've got them down, as I said, 16.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. 16th for me. I think they have a lot of experience in the league, as you said, Sterling, being in the league since 2013-14 season. So a lot more experience than some of the clubs that have recently joined the league in the last couple of years. But one departure which I'm aware of is Solwanjo Smith, who is quite a decent player at the level. I think he was on loan at Mainstow last year, who lost in the playoff final last season. But I think he might be a big miss for them coming into next season. But Bath, I think they've got a really good following. I think they're a decently run club as well. 16th for me. I think they'll stay up quite comfortably, but not push for playoffs.
Yeah, I've got them in 18th. I agree with what you guys have said. They're obviously established at this level. They have brought in players. You mentioned Dad from around their area, Plymouth, and from good leagues as well. Torquay in this league, Exeter as well. So maybe I'm doing them a little bit harshly there, but I don't think that they've recruited that much that suggests they're going to be pushing up the table. Do think that the fans and the following could potentially give them that extra boost, but no, I've got them in 18th. Chelmsford City is the next club, based in Essex, founded in 1938. And they're called the Clarets, that's their nickname. Play at Melbourne Stadium with a capacity of 3,000, so significantly less. But I think that's going to be the case with most of the teams, but nothing to sniff at, 3,000. Decent last season, finished just above mid-table in 11th, 62 points. And they actually finished second in the league the season before last, just behind Yeovil. So they've been doing decent, to be honest. Got new owners that have come in, and they really have made their mark. I mean, the new signings, I'd be here all day if I started listing them all off. But there's been a significant amount of new signings. Chris Hage from Worthing, we probably would have watched him play last season, can't really remember. But
I think he was the goalkeeper, not the one that started in goal, but their backup, I think.
I was going to say, the keeper that we watched for Worthing made a clanger, didn't he, against Dorking? So probably bodes well that it wasn't him. Loads of departures as well, but the signings they've made are all from good level. I think probably for me, looking at it, not knowing loads of these players, I look more of where they're coming in from. And you've got teams like Barnet, St Albans, Hemel Hempstead, Dagenham and Redbridge, Aldershot, Eastbourne, Worthing, as I mentioned, even a player from Ipswich coming in. So it definitely seems like they've got quality coming in. But it's that question again, isn't it? Whether they can gel coming in and then loads of departures going out. It's got to be nearing 20 going out. What do you think, guys?
I think the biggest thing to note about Chelmsford is the fact that they've gone full time. So that whole idea of whether players can gel at this level, you sort of solve that problem if you're making them all full-time employees, because you can afford to do those sort of team bonding exercises that you might not be able to do in a normal setting. Coupled with that, I mean, you hear all sorts of stories about people that are playing at this level and not being able to make matches because they can't get time off work and turning up late because they've just not been able to get there from work. I think the fact that they're full time suggests that there's a serious push behind what they're doing, and I wouldn't have thought any of those players coming in were poor quality. It is a big churn, but I think that full time status is going to make them one of the favourites in this division. I've not got them at the top, but I've got them fourth. I think they're going to be a strong contender in the playoffs, and you can see that maybe with the rub of the green or the bounce of the artificial pitch that they might do even better than that. But yeah, fourth at the moment.
Yeah, good point about the team going full time. I think I overlooked that a little bit in my predictions. But go on, George.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with Simon. I think full-time football's massive in this league, especially because a lot of teams in the lower half of the table you see aren't full-time, and then as you build up the table, you see teams which are full-time near the top of the table. So having that aspect to their football club now is a really big thing for them. Brilliant signings made as well. I know quite a few. Kylo Remy from Dagenham and Redbridge. He was at Eastbourne Borough. Top winger. Joe Grimwood from Barnet. He's top class centre back and club record transfer fee. So it shows transfer fees in the National League South are happening, which shows the evolution of English football in the recent years. And Dom Odeswanga, I think I might have butchered that name, but he was at Eastbourne Borough last year. He was their club captain, and he's their club captain at Chelmsford now. So 2 years in a row, club captaincy for him. So 100% brilliant signings made by the club, and their ambition, said by the owners in an interview with BBC Sport. They've said they want to be in the EFL in the next coming years. So with these signings, I can't see why they can't do this in the next coming years with signings from leagues above. But for me, I've got them in 7th place. I think they'll definitely make the playoffs, and as we've seen in the playoffs last year, teams from the lower half of the playoffs just pushed on and won the playoffs. So I think if they get in the playoffs, they can really cause the teams in the upper half of the playoffs a really big challenge. So 7th place for me.
Yeah, nice. I've actually got them in 9th, which I think might be doing them a bit of a disservice now. To think back on it, but I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm gonna firm my decision. I just think it's such a competitive league. I think seems a bit obvious, but more so than Isthmian Prem. I think there was real with Isthmian Prem. There was real standouts for me, and it was a bit more of an easy pick. Whereas there's so many teams that you think could be there or thereabouts. So I'm gonna stick with my guns with 9th, but I wouldn't be surprised if they prove me wrong with that one. I think that might be one that I've got wrong, but we'll have to see, won't we?
Yeah. Definitely.
Chesham United is the next side that we're going to be covering, based in Buckinghamshire, formed back in 1917. And the club's nickname is the Generals, which I like. I think that's a good nickname. Playing in a ground with 5,000 capacity, called the Meadow. So very nice, good capacity there. Last season was their first in National League South for a long period of time. Comfortably stayed in the division. Finished 13th. So well away from the relegation, but not really pushing for the playoffs either. I've got it here, doing a bit of research on their results. They lost quite heavily to the top 6, which I thought was notable because other than that, they did quite well with the teams that were getting relegated, 20 out of 24 points to the relegated sides. And the games that they had with the top 6 as well were fairly close. They lost 2-0 to Worthing. Beat Worthing 2-0. I've had a mare there. They beat Worthing 2-0, so this was a notable result. That's why I've actually put it in there. And they beat Yeovil 1-0 in FA Cup qualification as well, who are National League. So the reason I put it in there is because I think it's definitely shows that they've got the ability to kind of jump up a little bit. But yeah, they were floating a little bit. They have joint managers as well, James Duncan and Michael Murray, been at the club since 2018, and they've recently signed new contracts till 2026, 2017 season. What do we think about? I think we touched on it last time, didn't we? Last episode about the dual management.
Yeah, it doesn't work very often, but this obviously is working if they've been there for 7 years and they want them to stay for 2 more. So, yeah, I mean, they don't strike me as a club that's going to pull up trees this season. They're obviously a very capable group of footballers that can hold their own at this level. But the fact that they got spanked at the teams higher up the table and beat teams lower down sort of suggests that they'll tread water a little bit. I've got them 18th this season, and I predict they'll probably finish around there and do what they did last season, go on a decent cup run, beating Yeovil in the FA Cup qualifiers, probably their best result of the season. That's really where they're going to end up, I think.
Yeah, I've got them in 18th place. I think they'll stay up after, I think, a surprisingly good season from National League fans last season. National South fans, sorry, from last season. I think they were predicted to sort of be in and around the relegation spots, but I think it was a real shock to fans that they were near the mid-table spots last season. So I think that having that last season, keeping quite a lot of players from last year, and also bringing in additions as well. I think the club won't be relegated this year, and I think they'll stay up comfortably coming into the season. Yeah,
I've got them 21st, so yeah, not
just
predicting.
relegate.
Yeah, not predicting great things for them. I mean, they have made a few good signings. Again, basing it off of where they're coming from. I don't actually know any of the signings, but player from Worthing, what's his name? Alfie Young. Do we know him?
I think he was on loan from there last season, but I think he's a decent player. Yeah.
Yeah, and then again from teams in the league: Slough, Hampton and Richmond, Chippenham, St Albans, who they've just gone down to Ishmi and Prem, haven't they? So yeah, they have recruited okay, I'd say, but no, I don't think they're going to be doing much either. So swiftly moving on to Chippenham Town. Chippenham, based in Wiltshire, play their home games at Hardinghue Park. Again, probably butchered that, so apologies. In front of 3,000 fans. Been in the National League South since 17-18 season. They had their highest finish in the 21-22 season when they finished 7th, but haven't really been able to carry on that form. Finished 13th, 12th and 14th since. So last season was 14th finish. They lost heavily to the teams at the top of the league like Worthing, Hornchurch, Maidstone, Truro, Torquay. But very similar to Chesham previously. They actually took 20 out of 24 points from the relegated side. So again, it does suggest that they're just going to be comfortably mid-table again, not really able to trouble too much the top clubs, but too good to really get done in by the relegation sides. But it's worth noting they actually beat Boreham Wood 4-1 away, who ended up getting promoted, and they beat Eastbourne Borough 3-0 at home. So again, they've got the ability to do it, but I think more so that just shows the quality of the league, that on the day, anyone can beat anyone. Teams can beat top of the league when they're bottom. So it's just one of those things. But I do think they're going to be struggling, especially where got down the top scorers last season. Top scorer got 9, and then 7 and 6 was second and third. So do you think that lack of goals poses a problem? I mean, none of those have left. The departures is very slim. It's only one left back. But do you think that's going to pose a problem for them?
Yeah, definitely. Any level of football, if you can't score goals, you're not going to go anywhere. I've got these finishing 23rd, second from bottom. I think they'll go down. They've had some pretty disastrous results in terms of pre-season. They've lost to Taunton Town, who are step 8. They've lost to Mangersfield United, who are in the Division 1 South. So I don't really see anything of an upturn in terms of players coming in. They've come in from lower levels, although there's a guy there, Canis Carroll, that's got Football League experience, but I just don't see any cause for optimism there, really. And second from bottom, I think, is where they'll finish. They've obviously been treading water far too long, and there's some good teams in this division, and I don't see them being one of them.
Yeah,
Fair.
yeah, I think that's fair enough. Completely can agree with some of the points you made there. I don't think they'll go down. I think not losing a lot of players, but adding to the squad, I think that'll be quite beneficial, seeing as they've been in the league for so long and been comfortably staying in the division as well. But as you said, Simon, I think the lack of goals is a real problem, and that's why I think they won't be pushing on for the playoff spots at all this year. I've got them in 13th place. I think they've got a good structure at the back, which we can see. I don't think they concede a lot of goals from my memory from last season, but they don't score a lot of them. So also, I think as you've got here, your top goal scorer from last season, they've lost Leon Gravato, who was on loan, and from January, and he scored 6 goals for them. He's at Horsham, who have just been promoted from the league below for this season. So I think that will be a big loss for them, seeing as his quality, bringing in 6 goals from just being there from January, shows that certain players might bring attacking threat to their side, but we'll have to wait and see with the signings they bring in. They might be more threatening going forward, but I don't see him really threatening relegation or promotion. I've got them in 13th place.
Yeah, I've got them in 15th. I echo what you guys have said. Don't think they're going to be able to push on, but I don't think they're going to get relegated either. I think it's worth noting that Gary Horgan's their manager. He took over from the departure of Mike Cook in the 21-22 season. So I imagine Mike Cook, this is when they were doing really well. That was their best finish, of 7th. So I imagine that he actually got a new job opportunity elsewhere and left, and he's come in. They've not picked up that form, so you'd be thinking, well, I'd be thinking if I was the owner that something needs to change with the manager. I mean, I don't know about you, but
No,
they were
definitely.
there at once.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can completely agree with that. I think if you lose someone with that experience at the club, he moves on. I think we'll see that in the next episode from the research I've done on Solihull Moors. They lost a manager after about 7-8 years to 2 leagues above in Barrow. And since then, 2 seasons in a row, I think they've just been treading water, which is a famous podcast so far. Since if they were usually a promotion looking side, and now they've just turned into a relegation side. So yeah, I think you make a great point there.
Yeah. Moving on to Dagenham and Redbridge, a very famous club based in London area. Play their games at Victoria Road, 6,078 capacity. Last season they were relegated from National League, 1 point off survival, so bit of a bitter one to taste there for them. Only 7 points separated them from 13th as well, so they're definitely a good side, and that's not even mentioning something that we're going to come on to, one key arrival, which might shock a few people because it shocked me when I was doing the research. But Lee Bradbury is their manager, taking over from Lewis Young. Young actually took over following a poor run of games last season, so this is Lee Bradbury's first full season in charge. How do you think the first relegation in 9 years is going to affect the club, the players, the staff? Though, so am I not mistaken by thinking that Dagenham were a league club for quite a while? So
Yeah, they were established in League One in 2010, 2011. So they're favourites to go up. I've got them first. I think they'll go straight back up. With a bit more rub of the green, they would have stayed up last season. And as you said,
yeah,
only 7 points separating them from 13th position. You could easily see a scenario where they didn't go down. The only caveat I've got really is that they've lost the 2 top goal scorers from last season in Josh Rees and Dion Piera, and a guy at the back, Josh Umero, who scored 8 goals as well. So they've lost goals from the team. But like we were saying before with the guy at AFC Tottenham, you can't replace that sort of professional level of skill at this level of football. And bringing Andy Carroll in, I think, is going to be a huge advantage for them. If they can keep him fit, he will make the difference. They got to be favourites to go up. I've got them finishing first, and I'll be excited to see them play a couple of times because that's definitely one to mark in the calendar to go and see them play at Eastbourne and at Worthing, I think.
Yeah,
that was you stole my my big reveal of Andy Carroll there, Dad. I was building up to that.
suspense.
The suspense, you took it away from me. Yeah, go on, George.
No, but yeah, I've got him in first place as well. I think you make a good point, Simon. got to keep him fit. And then I saw a TikTok the other day of a guy going to watch him for pre-season, and he sees him coming out of the tunnel in a jumper and tracksuit because he's injured with a minor injury for the start of the season. So that's an absolute nightmare for them. But I think it's only a minor injury, thank God for them, because that would be a bit of a nightmare with, I can imagine, the wage bill which he's going to be on at the club, which will be quite hefty, because I think he was actually rumoured to go to Chelmsford City, I saw, because of how much like the owners have brought into the club. I think there's been a disagreement with him and with some of the clubs. But as you said, yeah, Andy Carroll brings great experience. I think it also shows from last season how close and tight the league was in so many areas of the table. I think it was only like 10 points separating the relegation zone and the playoff spots, which is just mad to see. So I think Dagenham and Redbridge will be real favourites to go up, seeing as how much experience they've had in higher leagues in the last couple of years, and I think they will. I wouldn't say comfortably, but I think they'll. It will be a real shock if they don't get promoted this season.
Yeah, I've actually gone a little bit different from you guys. I've got them finishing third. Mentioned obviously the competitive nature of this league. I do think it's going to be a bit harder than maybe what they expect. I do think that first relegation in 9 years could play a part as well. Just the whole environment around the club, maybe bit of a hangover from last season. Fans feeling a bit down. Loss of wages. The trouble in finance in terms of wages and stuff going from National League down to National League South could pose a bit of a hangover. But yeah, it's not going to be any discussion of whether they're going to be up there. They're definitely going to be up there. I've got them finishing third. I just think we'll get into it later. Who I think is going to come first, but they're definitely going to be up there. And yeah, Andy Carroll is a massive signing for him. We spoke about Charlie Austin, didn't we? And it's exactly the same. He's going to bring that quality, and he probably won't be the most mobile, bless him, but he's going to score a few goals. I don't doubt that, and definitely have to get out and watch him either at Worthing or Eastbourne Borough. And Maidstone's actually quite close, isn't it, for us? No, sorry, Tonbridge.
Tunbridge is
And Maidstone, to be fair. So there's a few.
Yeah. A few away
There's a
against.
few.
Then we can provide feedback, which we can obviously say on the podcast. So yeah, definitely. And teams locally for us to go to games for.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to one of the best teams in the league, in my opinion. It's going to be a fun one to talk about. Good old Dorking Wanderers, very famous side. You love them, don't you, George?
Love them. What a series of amateurs is. I absolutely adore it.
Yeah. Shout out to a bunch of amateurs. They're based in Dorking, Surrey, play their home games at Meadowbank with a capacity of 4,050. First season back in National League South last season. They had one season in National League, didn't they, George?
Two.
It was just it was all right. It was two. My fault.
Stayed
Yeah,
up
two
one,
seasons.
stayed up one, relegated the other.
Yeah, relegated season before last. Just narrowly missed out on promotion. They were in that bunch last season where it could have gone to any of them, but they ended up finishing sixth. And then, if you haven't watched it, I advise you to go watch their playoff eliminator against Boreham Wood, because it was pure poetry, pure drama, and it showcased just how good the league is. They actually lost 4-3 somehow to Boreham Wood, who went on to win the whole playoff round after going 3-1 up, 10 men down, and manager Mark White was not a happy bunny, was he?
No, I think it was about 3 goals in the space of 5 minutes, while Dorking had the extra, had the less of man. But I think Mark quite kept his emotions after. But I can't imagine what his emotions were like after that game. I think I remember in the game as well. the players which he was calling absolutely rubbish as well. He went on to score the winner and then absolutely
he's giving it beans.
giving it big into him after. It was just absolute cinema. But yeah.
Yeah. So it leads me on nicely to a bit about Mark White, which probably most people know about, but he's the chairman of the club, founder of the club, and now the manager. And they're a full-time club as well, so they're definitely going to be up there this season. But one big problem that they had last season was the injuries. How much do you think that affected them?
Well, I think looking at the way that they finished the season, it definitely dragged them. I think that's definitely something that caused them to miss out really on going straight back up. I've got them third this year. I just don't see. They've had some players come in, Denon Lewis from Woking and Frank Vincent from Dagenham, and a few players going out. So looks like a natural churn there. But it goes back to the quality of the league, I think. I think Dagenham and my team that I'm going to reveal in a second are going to be just a little bit too strong for them. But he's such a personality, Mark White, and they got such a massive online following. And the fact that they're full time, you could see them easily winning this league by a country mile. You know, if Andy Carroll doesn't come off at Dagenham, we talked earlier about the fact that they've lost two top goal scorers at Dagenham. So, you know, if he doesn't come off and he's wandering around with a jumper and a scarf on in September saying he's not fit, then this is the team that will jump into that place. So, third at the moment, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him win the playoffs, but I could see that being higher.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think they'll be in and around the title race. I think it will be a really tight league again, as we saw last season, which was just a well-known league around the world for how tightly anticipated the title race at the back end of last season was. But yeah, players coming into the club are decent from higher levels. Denon Lewis and Louis Antley both played in the National League last season for Woking and Braintree. And Louis Antley, I think I can't remember. He's an international player for a country, but I can't remember off the top of my head who for. But departures wise, Matt Briggs, I think he's been at the club for a long, long time. He leaves as a White player. Bobby Joe Taylor as well. But not many like major first team players leaving the club, which is a good thing for them. But as you said, Simon, first full time. Another big reason why I think they'll be high at the table. Having that is just crucial, I think, and having as you said for your question, Sterling, I think injuries really did affect them. I think it has done for a long while, which we mentioned on the last episode about the 3G pitches. He just says it kills some of the players injury wise, and it just affects the players. And some of the injuries that they get just affect them in the long run. So I've got them in fifth place. Don't know whether they get promoted via the playoffs after there. I don't know whether they want to go to the playoffs again after last year, but I've got them having a chance of getting promoted in fifth place.
Yeah, they'll definitely be aiming to avoid that promotion saga again, and just promotion playoffs in general. They're never fun, are they? You know, watching Brighton back in the day, they're a tough ride. But yeah, I've got them finishing fourth. Dad, you make a good point. Obviously, just going back to Andy Carroll, they are really relying on him to come up trumps, and if he doesn't, then they could definitely drop down. So I completely echo that, and I think it's worth mentioning about Mark White, his character. He demands so much out of him, and he's such a likable bloke as well, that he's got such a good relationship with the players. So they're obviously going to be playing for him, and yeah, I think they're going to do really well. They could definitely push up there. It wouldn't surprise me if they went on and won it, to be honest. But as we said about the nature of competitiveness in this league, it's going to be tough. I do think, again, it's worth mentioning about how good their away fans were when we went and watched them at Worthing. They were unreal, weren't they?
Yeah, you make a great point. I remember the flare getting thrown onto the pitch, and then social media a couple of days later, the fan got banned
Yeah,
on TV.
yeah.
So
Game's gone, mate.
game's gone. I think that was
Game's gone.
game's gone was a very very used word when that post came out on Dorking Wanderers' social media. But their fans were brilliant. I mean, I remember we were saying before they had loads of beanbags before the game, and we were wondering what the hell they had them on.
Yeah,
They just then revealed them with loads of balloons which popped out when the game started.
yeah.
Such a big game when we went to watch Dorking and I think it just really ruined both of their seasons. I think a draw was the worst result for both teams, and they're both going for it at the end. But yeah, atmosphere, and I think they'll be definitely carrying on that this season, hoping to get them promoted back to the National League.
All right, then moving on to Dover Athletic, play their games in Kent at the Crabble Athletic Ground. Capacity of 6,500. It is worth mentioning that, as I say, capacity, that is the amount that could turn up, and I highly doubt every week that they're filling that out. So just bear that in mind. Last season got promoted in the playoffs from the Isthmian Prem, finished fifth in the league and then beat Dartmouth in the final. So this is going to be their first season back in National League, but they have played in this division before. Manager Jake Leberall, might have butchered that again, has been in charge since 2023, confirmed for the upcoming season. Had a decent pre-season, lost a few games, won a few, played Arsenal under 18s, and then very minimal transfer activity. So not too much to say about Dover, to be honest. Where do you think they're going to come, lads?
I've got them 15th. I think they're obviously decent squad that got promoted out of the Isthmian Premier. They've not really done much in terms of changing it. In terms of their players, they've got a guy in goal called Mitch Walker who used to be at the Albion. He's got plenty of experience at Football League level, and he's knocked around in this sort of level of football for the last 10 years. He's a decent goalkeeper. But yeah, they really are one of those teams that will be easy to miss, I think. Historically, back in the 2010s, they went on a couple of good cup runs. So I think they got round to the third round at one stage. And that obviously helped them in terms of revenue, but that seemed to be on the way back up. But I can't see them doing anything better than mid-table 15th.
Yeah, I think 22nd for me. I just don't think they recruited enough. I mean, finishing in the last playoff place in the league below, obviously brilliant achievement getting promoted via the playoffs that year. But I just think if you're in that playoff spot and in the league standings at the end of last season in the Isthmian Premier Division, and they haven't really recruited enough, I think what will definitely help them is that, as you've said, they've had experience in the league above and FA Cup runs, which will really help them. But I just think recruiting more might have helped going into this season, and that's why I've got them going down in 22nd place for me.
Yeah, I've got them one below you, George, basically for the same reasons. I've got them in 23rd. Just think they've not really recruited that much. They've come up into this league. Would have had to have recruited a bit more to stay out for me. So, yeah, 23rd. Moving on to Eastbourne Borough, very local to us, based in East Sussex. Play their home games at the Reach TV Stadium with a capacity of 4,151. Last season we went and watched them on Good Friday, didn't we, against Worthing? And there was probably about, 2,000 people there, do you reckon?
Yeah, about that.
About that, yeah. Yeah, had a good season last season. Finished third, 1 point off first. 1 point off being champions, lost in the playoffs to Maidstone. So it was a very disappointing season end for them, but a good season overall. They have lost their manager, Adam Murray, who was a bit of a character, wasn't he? How do you think the squad's going to adapt with the change of management? They have got a few guys coming in from League One and League Two. And then Jason Adigan, who had a good season, he was on the programme when we actually went there. He was on loan, scored 6 goals last season, got 7 assists. He's gone. How do you think they're going to adapt?
I think they're going to do okay. I think I've got them in the playoffs again this season. Some of the players they've signed are really interesting. The guy that's now captain there, Craig Eastman, who was at Sutton United for a long time, 34. He started off playing at Arsenal. I think he played 4 times for Arsenal. But he's got bags of experience, and I think that is going to be a crucial thing for them, because they've obviously got the structure there and they've got the sort of raw talent there. But bringing this guy in as captain is a huge coup for them, I think. And I think he will make a big difference. And I see them doing pretty much the same as they did last season, which, bearing in mind the quality of the division, is no mean feat. But adding someone with that sort of experience and quality, making him your captain, is a real statement. And I think that's going to bode well for them. So, yeah, just in the playoffs. But again, I keep going back to Andy Carroll, because my memories of him at Liverpool and being broken all the time are so vivid. I just think that if he goes wrong, that could bode ill for them, and you could see Eastbourne Borough maybe finishing a little bit higher. But yeah, I'm quite excited about that signing and that sort of quality. My big reservation, and we've spoken about this a couple of times, is that pitch down there is absolutely atrocious. I think from what I could tell, it was worse than the one at Worthing. I don't think the one at Worthing was as bad as that one at Eastbourne. I think the one at Eastbourne looked older, and you could tell some of the things that the managers trying to get the players to do just weren't working on that car park, basically.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they'll definitely be up there. As I said before, I think this league will be really tight again. The quality in this league is just growing and growing every season, and I think it has again this season. As you said, really good signing from Sutton United, now becoming their captain as well. I think Jason Adigan's going to be a really big loss. I think on top of his goals and assists, like you said, Sterling, I think his overall plays, he just really benefited the style of play which Adam Murray played at the club. I think that will be a big miss. Adam Murray, very good manager, played some decent football last season. But yeah, I think 8th place for me. I've got them just outside the playoffs, unfortunately. I just think I've watched them in pre-season on a live stream against Farnham Town. I know pre-season isn't something you're meant to base things off of, but I just don't think the squad have gelled with what the manager wants the players to play, the system he wants to play. From watching them, obviously this might be completely wrong going into the season. I don't think they've been very good this pre-season. I think they've only won 1 game in pre-season against Dulwich Hamlet, who nearly got relegated from the Premier Division last season. So I think new signings coming in will be really beneficial. Jamie Searle is a really proven goalkeeper in the league above. But yeah, 8th place for me, just outside the playoffs. I think it will be tight, but hope they prove me wrong.
Yeah, I've got them in 11th. I just think the teams above them have got that bit more. I don't think Eastbourne are going to be really struggling by any means. I do think they'll give those top teams a go, and they could potentially go up a few places. But I just think with new manager coming in, that Jason Adigan was really good when we watched him play. He's playing in that 10 role, and he just had that quality. Where was he on loan from? Maidstone?
I think it was Dag.
I think it was Maidstone.
One of the two. I think it Maidstone or
Yeah. Yeah, but regardless, he was really good, so I think that's going to be a loss, and I just think the teams above are going to be just that bit better than them. So yeah, 11th for me. Then we've got Ebbsfleet United is the next club that we're going to cover, based in Kent. Formed 79 years ago in 1946. Play their home games at Stonebridge Road. Capacity of 4,769. And they were actually relegated last season from National League. That was their second season in the National League. and the season before that they just avoided the drop by 2 points. So yeah, disappointing one from last season. Josh Wright, the manager, remains in charge. He took over from Harry Watlin when he was sacked 3 months into his tenure. So obviously that last manager, Harry Watlin, had a big part of them going down last season. How hard do you think it is in situations like this for a new manager to kind of deal with a first season in charge when they've just gone down, and the whole saga around relegation and obviously being in and amongst the season, just the whole chaotic nature of that, not really being able to think too much about squad, and then now trying to deal with it? How tough do you think that's going to be?
Well, it doesn't make it any easier, does it? But I mean, when you look at the quality of their squad, they've got a huge amount of professional experience in that team. So if we were talking about players that had been at academies and had spent most of their time playing down in the Isthmian Prem or this level, you'd think he'd have his work cut out. But when you look at the actual depth of professional experience in there, it's huge. You know, they've got players that have played a lot of football in League One and League Two. So I think the professionalism will come shining through. I don't think they've necessarily got the quality, especially up front, to really challenge those top six, but I've got them seventh because I think they'll be there or thereabouts, and they're an interesting team to watch. I think as the season unfolds, because as I said, they've got that level of experience in that squad that if they could find someone to put the ball in the back of the net, you could see them being a genuine threat. They've also got, players that have got international experience in there. So not necessarily full internationals, but playing in different leagues, which can be a benefit. So yeah, seventh for me.
Based on what you said about the goal scorers, they signed this Kwesi Appiah from Boreham Wood, who was at Palace's academy, and Crawley as well, amongst other clubs. And he's represented Ghana 7 times, and in 35 appearances in this league, he's got 24 goals. So could be an answer to that.
Yeah. Scored 27 times for Boreham Wood last season. So, but it makes you wonder why Boreham Wood let him go, because they went up, didn't they? So why did they let him go? He hasn't played for Ghana for 6 years, so he's obviously no spring chicken. Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
He's 34, so he's not going to be an everyday player, I would have thought.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with Kwesi Appiah. I think he's a great player. Watched him a few times last season at Boreham Wood in the National League South. I thought he was brilliant. But I think now seeing Dominic Foley left the club and joined Farnborough, I'm kind of regretting putting Farnborough where I did, because Dominic Polion is absolutely brilliant at this level. I think when Ebbsfleet got promoted to the National League in the 2021-22 season, I think they got like 100 odd points. I think he was near the 40 goal mark. I think he's a really established striker in this league, and I think losing him could be a big loss. But Kwesi Appiah does replace him puts the club in a good place, placing him, because he's still a brilliant striker, got great experience in the league as well. So yeah, that's me touching on the point you made about losing him. But for me, I think they've been really established in this league when they were in it before, after getting relegated from the National League last season. So I've got them in third place. I just think coming down from the league above this season, I think it will be a tougher test from them being in the league from years before. I think there's more quality in the league, and I think that will hit them badly, and fans, because I think some fans might think, we'll storm this league again. They were like 20 points clear, but I think it will be a lot tougher test now. They've got some real quality sides coming into the league. So third place, playoffs, and yeah, I think an overall good season.
Yeah, we've got a few different predictions, because I've actually gone finishing seventh. So just about seventh is playoffs, isn't it?
Yeah, just in the past.
Yeah. So just about playoffs for me. So yeah, we'll see. It's going to be an interesting one. Moving on to Enfield Town, based in London. Established very, very recent in terms of football clubs in this league, 2001. Play their games at the Queen Elizabeth II Stadium, so very interesting name as well. With a capacity of 2,500, so not massive season. Sorry, not massive capacity. Last season finished 19th in only their first season in the league, 3 points off safety. Keeping their manager Gavin McPherson. He got the club promoted and done good job keeping them up. So yeah, it's good for them there keeping him. How do you think a club like Enfield needs to push on or can push on in a situation like this?
I don't think they can. I think they've reached the limit of their potential. They've got a tiny squad, which has got a little bit of Football League experience in it, but not much. But it's just not got the depth in it, I don't think. I've got them finishing stone last, and I don't see anything that will change that. Yeah, they got Lamar Reynolds up front, which if you'd said the Lamar Reynolds of 2016, he was banging in 26 goals a season. But since then, he's not managed to get out of single figures. So, if you're relying on someone like that, that's obviously at 29 peaked already, I just can't see them having the depth in that squad to do anything. And I'd be surprised if they finished anywhere other than last.
Yeah, 23rd for me. I think you make a good point. I think they reached their potential. Watching them in the Eastbourne Premier Division at the Dripping Pan a few times, I think they've got a very good side for that league. I just think National League South at the moment's a step above for the club. Especially them finishing just above the relegation zone last season and not making any notable signings to be known around the non-league world. But yeah, for me, 23rd, I think it will be a very unsuccessful second season in the National League South for Enfield, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's worth noting as well that they've lost their second top goal scorer last season, Anointed Chukwu, unreal name by the way, to Worthing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's gone. The arrivals they don't look really bad, but one of them's a 19-year-old centre mid from Leighton Orient. And he's only on loan. If he can adapt, then that would be decent. But it's not been many, so I think they're going to struggle as well. But I actually have them finishing 16th. So I think based but mainly on the fact that it was their first season last season, they come 19th. Manager's obviously got faith in the squad. He's got a good relationship with them. They obviously are strong enough to survive last season in their first season. So I just think a little bit of a improvement, and I think there's a few teams that have a bit of a lesser chance in my eyes. So, yeah, 16th for me. Moving on to Farnborough, founded in 1967, located in Hampshire. Play their home games in front of 6,500 people at Cherrywood Road. Last season finished 10th on 63 points. They were 16 points away from the playoffs, and they've been in the league since 22-23 season, so they weren't really anywhere near playoffs last season. Their manager's been with them since 2011, Spencer Day. And then when you look at departures, this is the glaring problem for them. They've lost joint top goal scorer Ricky Holmes. He's gone to Chelmsford. He scored 11 goals last season, along with Joe Hage, who's gone to Dagenham and Redbridge. And then their second, because they got two joint, top goal scorer, Amelia Matthews Lewis. He got 10 goals last season. He's joined Hemel Hempstead. So all three of their top goal scorers have left the club. How big of a loss is that going to be for them?
Well, yeah, it could be quite a big a loss for them, but I think they've got some quality in the squad in general. They've got Mason Bloomfield playing up front for them. He's had a decent record at Hampton and Richmond, and I think he joined last season. Farnborough only scored once, but he seems to have that sort of quality at this level of football that could compensate for that. I've got them finishing 10th because I just think they've got that sort of inherent quality in the squad still that is going to keep them there or thereabouts. They've got some interesting players in there from countries like St. Lucia and Somalia and Austria, so there's quite a polyglot collection of players there, which is interesting. But none of the experience that they've got really suggests that they're Football League players that are coming down. They seem to be the sort of player that have knocked around at this level of football for quite a few years. So they've got lots of experience. It's a decent sized squad. 10th is probably the highest they will finish. That's where I've got them finishing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think mid-table, the 11th place I've gone with. Looking back on it now, bringing in Dominic Polion, as I said before, I think that's a really big signing for them. As I said, smashing in the goals in the league a few years ago. So having that goal threat up top will be a big factor in how they get on this season. I think 11th place is a reasonable spot. I just think, similar to last season, I think they'll be near the playoff spots, threatening at some points, but I just don't think they'll have enough to get over the line. And obviously, having lots and lots of experience in the league and manager being at the club since 2011, that's also a massive factor in the way they want to play and how experienced he is in the league, especially. So, yeah, 11th place for me. I think they'll be pushing playoff places at some points, but nowhere near the relegation zone.
Yeah, I think a little bit further down. I've got him in 14th. Obviously, manager's been there for a long time, finished 10th last season, so I don't see him going down. They're obviously established at this level and as a group of players. You mentioned Polion coming in. They've got Billy Clifford from Barnet coming in, who's played over 200 games at step 1 and step 2 of non-league. So they've recruited okay, but I just think that loss of goals from those departures is going to be the main problem. As we've mentioned, goals win you games and they're hard to replace. So I think that's going to mean they come a little bit further down the league, in my opinion. So 14th for Farnborough. Hampton and Richmond is the next side we're going to cover. Founded in 1921, based in London, play their home games at Beverley Stadium, holds 3,800 people. Last season they finished 18th, so not the best season for them, but not the worst either. 6 points above relegation, and they've been in the league since 2016-17. Alan Julian is their manager, been in charge since March 24, and he was a former player there, so he knows the club well. Do you think when you've been in this league for so long, you need to change things up, or to kind of keep it going and keep plugging away? I mean, change it up in terms of whole rejig of the squad, because there's been a few players in that we'll get to in a sec because they're notable players, but not many.
Well, I think the trouble with at this level of football is that you do sort of find your natural level and you sort of tread water a lot of the time. This sort of what we've been looking at so far is showing you some clubs that are going to be bouncing between the National League and the National League South, and you've got some other clubs that are lucky to get into this level, but there's quite a lot of clubs. I'd sort of hazard a guess at about 8 or 9 clubs that are they've reached their natural level. They attract good enough players to stay at this level. They've probably not got the infrastructure or the finances to go higher. We're talking about clubs like Dorking and Dagenham and Redbridge that are full-time. That is a huge leap financially. So a club like Hemel Hempstead, I know you're going to go on to talk about some of the signings, but the one that I wanted to talk about was Rowan Ince. You know, he's 32 now, but I can remember him out the Amex anchoring Brighton's midfield. He's a decent player. He was
Legend.
one of those players that I'm surprised didn't kick on quite the way that he did. So they can attract players like that to play at this level. They must be paying him a decent amount. I wouldn't have thought he made his fortune from 72 games at the Albion, but they haven't really got that quality in the squad that suggests they're going to challenge those top clubs. So I just think that Hampton and Richmond 17th, I can't see it going any better than that. But yeah, no doubt they'd be quite happy with another season at this level.
Yeah, I'm similar to you again. 14th place for me. Bringing in Rowan Ince, as you said, is a massive signing. I think he'll bring a lot of experience, and needable experience, I think, for the club going into next season. Also, Eddie Allsop from Lewis, who I watched a few times last season. 16 signings in total, so a new squad going into next season. I mean, Maro Bilhete, who I've watched in the Baller League, he's a really good player. Losing him could be a big loss for them, but going into this season, 14th, I can't see him pushing for the relegation spots, and I can't really see him pushing for the playoffs. So 14th place for me.
Yeah, fair enough. I've actually gotten one above in 13th. I just think with Rowan Ince and Eddie Allsop coming in, two very good players in my eyes. Yeah, Rowan Ince we thought was going to go right to the top when he was at Brighton. I think he was there when he was maybe as young as 18, 19, and he was just brilliant, so physical, so good on the ball. It's a shame really he's not gone as far, but he was still playing at Woking last season of National League, so good level. I think that's going to bolster him a lot in centre mid, and Eddie Allsop, as you touched on, George, absolute baller.
Yeah.
Probably get a few of his clips up to show a few people in the next few coming weeks once he starts banging in the goals. But yeah, I think he's going to be good for them. But yeah, they've lost a few of their top goal scorers as well. Two of their top goal scorers, joint top goal scorers, Mauro Viette and James Roberts. So that's going to be a problem for them. But I think a little improvement on last season, but not massively turning up trees in 13th for me. Right, moving on to Hemel Hempstead, based in Herefordshire. Play the home games at Vauxhall Road, capacity 3,152. Been in the league since 2014-15. Last season finished 12th, comfortably survived relegation, but nowhere near promotion. I think it's going to be very similar for them this season as well, to be honest. I've got them finishing 12th. Decent pre-season, few good players coming in. One to note that we just spoke about, that Viette from Hampton and Richmond scored 11 goals last season. But they've lost Ricky German, who was their third top goal scorer last season. So that's going to be a loss for them, but they've retained their other top goal scorers. So I think it's going to be much the same, to be honest.
Yeah, I've got this team finishing in 14th. I think, like I was saying before, I think there's a good few teams that have just reached their level. Got a decent sized squad. There's lots of Football League experience in there. They've not really got the sort of player that's going to score you 20 odd goals a season, that's going to get you up around the playoff places. But with that amount of Football League experience, you can see them quite comfortably finishing mid-table, and that's where I've got them exactly 14th.
Yeah, I've got them in mid-table, 10th place for me. I think they'll improve on last season because some of the signings they've brought in, as you said, Sterling Mauro Vilhete, really good player. Watched him in the Baller League, as I said before, and obviously banging in the goals for Hampton and Richmond last season. Also, Jermaine Anderson coming in from Woking, who I've watched a few times. He's a really good player in the central midfield role. But yeah, I think they'll improve on last season because of just improving the squad in general. I think they've had sort of a squad rejig from last year. I think there's a lot lot more signings coming in, but just we've noted down some of the notable signings they've made here, which I think are really good signings. So I think they can push on a little bit, but not enough for playoffs. So 10th place for me.
Cool. Moving on to Hornchurch, based in Upminster. They were founded in 1923. They play at the Hornchurch Stadium, so very unique with that name. Don't know where they came up with that one, but capacity of 3,500. Only their second season in the division, and it's the highest league and standard they've ever played at. But actually, last season, with their first season in the division, they finished ninth. So pretty good season. 14 points off the playoffs. Won all their pre-season games that I've got down here, and they brought in a familiar face in Joe Taylor from Ramsgate, who was formerly at Lewis. We spoke about him in the last episode, so that's going to bring in quite a lot of goals, you'd think. So I reckon they'll move on up the table this season. What do you reckon, guys?
Yeah, I reckon they'll push on as well. I think bringing in Joe Taylor is going to bring in a lot of experience, as we said in the last podcast, banging in the goals at the level below. So I think giving him a test going into this league, but I think he'll thrive under it. I think scoring that many goals in the league below, I think he'll slot into the league very well. Losing Raz Coleman de Graft, I think, will be a big loss for them. We've watched him a few times at Lewis. Great player, great winger. Also played in the Baller League as well for Angry Ginger's side United, who was a really good player for them in that Baller League. So, yeah, I think they'll really push on this year, not threatening relegation, and yeah, I've got them in 15th place, sort of dropping off, but I think they'll be comfortable in the league this year compared to some teams which I think will have had a good first season last year, but drop off. But I think Hornchurch will sustain a good level and stay in the division again for the next season.
Yeah, I've got them 12th. I think this is just another example of a club that's going to tread water. They've got plenty of Football League experience. They got a guy up front called Sean Scannell, who's got loads of international experience for Ireland. He was at Palace for a while, I think, played 100 odd games for them. So yeah, they got that sort of experience, but they're not really going to be challenging for promotion, I don't think.
Yeah, I've got them finishing 10th, dead on. So I said I think they can push up, but I was telling lies, obviously, because I predicted them to finish one below. So, yeah, that's my prediction. Yeah, we'll touch on Razak Coleman de Graaf a bit when we get to Worthing, because he's an absolute baller and it's one that I'm very excited to see in the league. But we'll move on to Horsham, based in East Sussex, close to us again. So another one we can get out to this season. Founded in 1881. They were promoted last season as champions from the Eastbourne Prem. First time playing this level, so I do think they're going to struggle a little bit personally, but they've had a good pre-season. They beat Billericay 6-0 in the Eastbourne Community Shield, which I didn't even know was a thing, to be honest. So yeah, another good result was Hassocks in the Sussex Community Shield. So there's another one that I didn't know about. But yeah, decent pre-season. They've signed that Gianluca Botti from Tunbridge Angels, who we know about from Lewis. Reece Murphy from Dorking. Another player from Hampton and Richmond as well. So some good quality coming in. I do think they'll do all right, but it's going to be tough for them. I wouldn't be surprised if they went down, but I have predicted them to finish 19th. How do you lot think they're going to get on, boys? Are going to struggle?
I think they will, but I think they've just about made the sort of quality signings that they need to make to survive at this level. It does rely on those players a little bit, though, so that's what my only reservation would be. I mean, they are nice and close to us, so I should imagine we'll go and see them once or twice at least. But as you said, Sterling, keeping players like Reece Murphy fit and playing is going to be the big one. He's 34, so is he going to be able to do it week in, week out? bit of a question mark, but he's got that sort of experience from Dorking that they need. James Roberts up front, not around this level of football, playing for clubs like Oxford City and Haverton, Waterlooville, and regularly contributes goals. So they've just about got enough to stay up, I think. I'm going to give 19th to them. I think there are worse teams than them, but it is, as you say, going to be a huge struggle.
Agreed.
Yeah, I disagree with you both. Unfortunately, I've got them rock bottom. I don't think they've added enough quality to the squad. I mean, Greg Lure from Three Bridges. I mean, I think he's a proven striker at the level, but Three Bridges are a club in, I think, 2 leagues below. So, he's an experienced striker, of course, but if you want a proper number 9 in the season to try score you the goals, keep you in the division, I think Reece Murphy definitely brings that experience. Being at Dorking last year, I think he got injured, so didn't play a lot last season. So see if he can prove himself in the league this season alongside Botti, who was previously at Lewis, like we said. So a lot of attacking options coming into the side, which hopefully can help them stay up. I would like them to stay up, but I don't think they've added enough, especially in the defensive areas. I don't think they've made one defensive signing at the moment that I'm aware of. So, yeah, I just don't think they'll have enough. But I could be completely wrong, like you said. I think they could stay in this division, and it wouldn't surprise me if they did.
Yeah, that Gianluca Botti got snapped up quite quick when he was at Lewis from scoring loads of goals. So I know he didn't score loads for Tonbridge, but if he could reclaim that form, then that could be quite a coup for him. But yeah, we'll see. I hope they do well. Moving on to Maidenhead. Last season, they were relegated from National League. They were founded in 1870 as a club. Play their home games at York Road in front of 4,000 fans. Management is Alan Devonshire, who's been at the club since May 2015. And they signed a few good players. Matt Robinson from Woking, Josh Umrah from Dagenham and Redbridge, who we touched on earlier, scored, I think it was 8 goals, but yeah, he was banging in the goals. Corey Andrews from Oxford City and a few others. But it's worth noting that Sean Mikulski and Tristan Abraham, 2 top goal scorers last season with 15 and 11 respectively, have moved on to Harrogate and Aldershot, so they're missing them. Potentially brutal here, but why haven't they got rid of their manager after relegation from National League South for the first time? Back to National League South, relegated from National League for the first time in 8 seasons. Why have they not got rid of him?
Well, I mean, you don't know what the structure's like at the club and what the relationships are behind the scenes. It could be that he's invested in the club or there's some sort of emotional attachment. It does seem like that's what happens further up the pyramid, that success is rewarded, but failure is consequential as well. It's refreshing to see in a certain respect, I guess, that they've kept hold of him. They've got to be one of the favourites to go straight back up, I think. As you say, Josh Umrah gives them that sort of goal scoring threat up front, and that they've signed some other players there that have got plenty of experience at this level of football and higher, in terms of Football League experience. That Corey Andrews, for example, has played for Wimbledon and Aldershot Town, Torquay United, Willstone, so that's sort of great experience. I think you've got to look at these clubs coming down and think they've got to be favourites to go back up. So I've got them 6. I think they'll do really well. But they are one of those teams that you think maybe if all doesn't go well, that manager might be on his notice, and if he goes, then the squad could disintegrate or someone could come in and turn it all around. So it's a difficult one to call. So that's why I've got them 6.
Yeah, 6 for me as well. I think obviously National League experience, as he said, being in the National League for 8 seasons in a row is a real kiosk for them coming into the National League South for the first time in 8 seasons this year. Tristan Abrahams is a big loss for them, being top goal scorer TC, top 2 scorers last season for the club with 15 goals. So he adds that attacking threat, but unfortunately losing him. 6th place for me. I don't think they'll do as well as some of the relegated sides from the National League, just in terms of some of the arrivals they've brought in, just not really notable for myself. I'm not really aware of their qualities and stuff, not players that I'm aware of. So hopefully they can prove to me and prove to us that they're really good players and push on and get them a promotion spot. But I've got them in 6th place in the playoff places.
Yeah, I've got them 6th as well. So one of the few, it seems, that we've actually agreed on. Just all of us, not just me and you, George. But moving swiftly on to Maidstone, founded in 1992, play their games at the Gallagher Stadium in front of 4,200 people. 3rd season in the National League South after getting relegated from the National League in 22-23. Came 7th in the league last season, beat Worthing 2-0 in the first playoff game, 2-1 versus Eastbourne Borough in the second, and then lost the final to Boreham Wood. Worth mentioning that manager George Elacobi led them to the FA Cup 5th round proper in 2024, 23-24 season, beating Ipswich along the way, and then eventually losing to Coventry in the 5th round. So that's definitely given them significant experience going forward and probably helps them, in my opinion, massively. Definitely, I think, with the playoff run that they had last season. What do you think about that? Do you think that's played a big part in their success last season in playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed watching their their FA Cup run. The win at Ipswich was fantastic. They're an interesting team because we talk a lot, don't we, about Phoenix clubs. This is the original Phoenix club because there was a Maidstone that was in the Football League back in the 80s, I think, and they went bankrupt. And this is the club that rose from the ashes of that. I mean, they bounced around between the National League and the National League South pretty much consistently over the last few years. I just don't think they've got that sort of quality in the club to get promoted, unfortunately. I've got them 11th. They haven't really kicked on from that FA Cup run. It's interesting that for a club of that sort of, you'd think, size in Maidstone with that sort of captive audience, they don't really attract that great crowds. So sort of 1,500 would be the average, which is pretty much what Lewis get on most of their games. I don't see enough quality in the squad really to see them pushing on. Which, if you sort of looked at it dispassionately and thought about the cup run, you'd think they would probably be one of the favourites. But I've got them 11th because of that lack of quality in the squad overall.
Yeah, they've lost their top goal scorer last season as well, Aaron Blair, which doesn't help. He got 20 last season, and one of their starting centre halves, Temi Aweka, has joined Eastleigh, as well as Aaron Blair. He's gone to Eastleigh as well. So those are going to be 2 big losses, as well as Ben Brooks, third top goal scorer, has gone to York. So I do think that will be a significant loss to them, those departures. However, I think based on the FA Cup run and then last season just narrowly missing out on promotion, I think it's kind of all building, in my opinion. The squad and the club and the camaraderie and just that desire to get up the leagues. I think that's all building. So I think they're going to have a good season. I think they're going to be there or thereabouts. And I actually think fifth, because I think George Elokobi's a really good manager as well. So yeah, I'll be rooting for them, and I've got them in fifth. What about you, George? What do you think?
Yeah, I've got them in ninth place. I think they've had really good experience in this league over the past couple of seasons, and after a couple of seasons ago, a really unsuccessful season in the National League when Wrexham got promoted as champions. They were in that league season where I think they played Wrexham on the last day, which confirmed Wrexham as champions. But yeah, I just think ninth place outside the playoffs for me. I think the quality in the league's growing and growing, so I think they'll struggle.
Fair enough. Moving on to Salisbury, based in Wiltshire, founded in 2015, so very recently. Another one of them. Play at the Raymond McKenhill Stadium, capacity of 5,000. It was their first season last season at this level, which is the highest they played at, and they just survived relegation with a 20th finish. So personally, I think they're going to struggle again. I've actually got them to go down in 22nd. They've won games in pre-season versus lower sides, but the only notable team who are better than them in terms of status or in this league is Eastleigh, who are National
Yeah,
League. They played no teams in this league and they lost to Eastleigh, so I think they're going to struggle, to be honest.
I would have agreed with you up until June, but they were taken over by a Kuwaiti businessman in June 2025. So I think they're one to keep an eye on. They've not got sort of huge amount of experience in the squad. It's a decent size. Matty Taylor's their sort of player coach, who's got huge experience at Oxford United, Bristol City, Bristol Rovers. So that sort of augurs well for them. But I think this is going to be one where I decided to put them ninth just because I just don't know where that investment's going to lead to. There's lots of cautionary tales from the Football League about investment leading to absolutely horrendous situations, and Sheffield Wednesday is a perfect example of that. But you've got to wonder why at this level this guy's invested in the club. So I've thought long and hard about this, and I think putting them ninth just to edge my bets, really.
Yeah, very controversial.
yeah. So I've got them just above the drop zone, in 20th place. I think crucial experience last year being promoted from the league below, season before last. So good manager who brought and promotion into the division. So I think bringing in Matt Briggs as well from Dorking, Tommy Willard from Worthing. So some good signings. Roman Silva, who was at Lewis previously, he leaves, which is quite a big loss for them, I think. So some good signings who are proven at this level. So for me, in 20th place, just above the drop zone.
Cool. Moving on to Slough Town, based in Berkshire, founded in 1890, play at Arbour Park in front of 2,000 fans. They've been in this division since 2018-19, and last season they finished 16th, 11 points off relegation and 22 points off playoffs. To be honest, doing the research for this, they were the most boring club to actually research. I wasn't massively impressed. The teams they've played in pre-season, I mean, Southall, Flackwell Heath. They played Brentford Exide. That's probably the only one of note. Basingstoke. They've not played great sides, and they've not had the best results either. They've won their games, but they're just not teams that are any cop really. Few players come in, but none that are really catching my eye. And their manager is Scott Davies, been at the club since 2022. He's had an impressive playing career for the likes of Oxford, but it's been his only management job. And for me as a coach, it does beg the question of why a lot of clubs will go for ex-players rather than kind of career coaches, because I'm not discrediting the experience of actually playing the game, what that does for you as a coach, and not him as a coach either. But just think that if you're getting a manager at this level who's never had a previous job, it just it blows my mind a little bit. I think there's better options. But yeah, Slough Town, boring one for me, and I've got them to finish dead last.
Yeah, I've got them 22nd. I don't think they're going to do much better than that, really. I mean, to answer your question, why have they got a manager with such limited experience? It's attracting these people. I mean, they don't work for nothing. And, this is one of the beauties of the football pyramid, is even down at this level, it's difficult to attract that sort of experience. And I guess for a club like Slough, building from the ground up makes sense for them. They've just not got the quality in the squad, or really the size of squad that's going to be able to survive, I don't think. If you look at some of their signings, they've all kicked around this level or lower, a lot of them. And when you compare them to some of the teams we talked about, I keep thinking back to Ebbsfleet and the just sheer number of players they've got with Football League experience. When they come up against teams like that, Slough are going to struggle. They've just not got the quality or the experience, unfortunately. So 22nd for me.
Yeah, I can agree with you both. I just think 17th for me, by the way, because I just think looking at the league for a while, I think they've been in the league for quite a while, sustained mid-table to lower half of the table spot for quite a long time, and I think bringing in a manager like that, I think you make a good point. Sterling could make a big statement in how they get on this season, which I think you touch on really well. Losing a lot of good players as well, but bringing in some decent players. Adam Dubois from Eastbourne Borough, who's a good goalkeeper, and Peter Odgerman, who comes from Lewis, who I watched last season. Also, Reece Greenidge from Maidstone, who's a good centre half at this level. So I just think some good signings there. Lost some key players as well. John Gilbert, their second top goal scorer, leaving as well. So yeah, I can understand. Sorry, why you've both got them down, but I just think their experience at the level will keep them up for another season.
Cool. Moving on to Tunbridge Angels, they're based in Kent. They were founded in 1947. Play at Longmead Stadium in front of 3,000 fans, and they've been in the league since 1920 season. Highest level that the club's played at. Real talking point is Craig Nelson joining from Lewis, who we watched a lot last season. What do we think of Nelson, lads? We like him?
Yeah, I like the way he played football. Really good, positive, keeping the ball on the floor, not much along the ball, just pushing the fullbacks on. Really creative styles of playing. I think if you look up some of the styles of patterns of play he played last season, I think me and Simon, me and some of my mates went to watch a Lewis game last season against Cray Valley Paper Mills, and one of their goals was just brilliant football. So that gives me some. Obviously, watching the manager at different clubs gives me a bit of hope for how they could play coming up into this season. I think it's a surprising appointment from the club, seeing as Lewis sort of dropped off from seasons before. So when I saw that he'd moved on, I think it was a bit of a wow factor from Lewis fans, knowing that they'd gone from nearing playoff places to lower half of mid-table. So I would say it's a rogue appointment from the Angels, but they brought in a lot of familiar faces from last season. Notable one in Marcus Sadler, who's a really good player in the midfield and been vital for Lewis in the past couple of seasons. But as we said before, losing Ganciela Botti is a real loss, who's well known at this level now after last season. So I've got him to stay up in 19th, just on the basis of watching the manager's style of football a few times, which gives me a bit of hope of how the team could perform and how they could outwit some of the opponents they play this season.
Yeah, I've got them just a little bit below that 21st. They're not really going to pull up any trees, I don't think, but it will be interesting to see how the manager gets on there, because I was impressed with him at Lewis. I think he did well there. They've got some experience in the squad. It's not a massive squad. They've got a couple of players on loan from Wycombe Wanderers. This is quite unusual at this level to have Football League clubs loaning players down. So, don't know what quality they are. Probably young lads. Scott Wagstaff is their sort of captain and probably holds the whole squad together, I would have thought. But again, he's 35, so it's keeping him fit and finding goals in there. The rest of the squad's limited in terms of even experience at this level. They've got a guy called Brandon Perrick in midfield, for example, who played last year at AFC Croydon, which are the Isthmian League South. So they're not really attracting the quality of players that they need to kick on. I think with the manager and Scott Wagstaff, they've probably just got enough to stay up.
Yeah, I've got them to finish exactly where they did last season in 17th. So we shall see. I do think it was a weird one as well, George. I think Craig Nelson's a bit of a weird one in general, because I think he's a really good manager, but the drop off from Lewis was very, very strange last season. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. But we'll move on to Torquay United, massive club, potentially the biggest club in this division, based in Devon, founded in 1899. They play at a capacity of 6,200 stadium, called Plainmoor, with 3,000 seated as well. And I imagine they get quite good crowds. Providing that they were once of League Two. So I imagine they've kept that core of the club. They've been in some financial turmoil going into administration in 2024, with the former owner Clark Osborne then stepping down, now taken over. And they brought in ex-Truro boss Paul Wootton last season, which meant under the new owners, the Byrne Consortium and Paul Wootton, had a really good season. Just missed out on automatic promotion, finishing second, by 2 goal difference as well. It's worth mentioning, and then they lost in the playoff final to Bournemouth 1-0. So it was upsetting way to go out there for them last season in the playoffs and not get promoted, but they've kept most of the squad, lost some players who weren't really major parts of the squad, and brought in some good names as well by the looks of it. So what do you think, guys? Do you think they're going to be favourites to go up? I've actually got them as first, so I think they're going to just bounce back.
They're a massive club at this level, aren't they? So I've got them second. It's difficult to think that a club that so recently was in the Football League is going to struggle at this level. I think they'll go straight back, they go up rather this season. I don't think there'll be any doubt about that. I mean, they haven't got players in the squad that you sort of immediately think are outstanding in terms of their experience and previous quality, but it's too big a club at this level. We spoke earlier about Maidstone, who were a Football League club way back when and then went bankrupt. This lot almost went bankrupt, but seem to have staved that off to a certain extent. They've got a new ownership group there. I think I'm right in saying that Neil Warnock is some sort of consultant there as well. So they really are going to, and they're going to just so unlucky to lose to Bournemouth and to even not get promoted, because going into that last weekend, I thought they would be the ones that would go up. But yeah, at this level of football, a massive club, and it's only Andy Carroll that's really stopping them going up as champions. So when he's walking around in his jumper and woolly hat in the middle of September, we can scratch that from the top. But yeah, second easily for me.
Yeah, With you, Simon, second place for me. As you've both said, massive club in this league, fully established EFL side last couple of years, and I bet fans are really just hurting not being in the EFL in the last couple of years. Title race between them and Dagenham and Redbridge this year. I think they both squads have got really good quality, and obviously very experienced squad, as we said. Before, you've mentioned Simon, full time and have a lot of football league experience football league players going into the season. So yeah, definitely Sonny Fish, an arrival from Crawley, which I'm aware of. Sorry, really good striker, League Two proven. So he might bang in the goals for them and hopefully push them on for a playoff, a title winning position this season.
Nice. Moving on to Western Supermare now. Based in Somerset, founded in 1887. Shout out to Western Supermare because their nickname is the Seagulls. So absolutely love that from them. Great name, if I do say so myself. Last season finished 8th, only 4 points off playoffs, and 10 points off 9. So they were quite unlucky actually to miss out. Scott Bartlett is the manager. It's his second stint at the club. He left in the 16-17 season to be an academy manager at Forest Green and then took back over. And then he's got them back up as champions in 2022-23, back up to this level. They've had a good pre-season and they lost to Yeovil, but they've played some good sides, Yeovil, Newport County, Exeter, and made a few good signings as well, actually. Max Harris from Cheltenham in League Two, Michael Smith from Yeovil, and Dylan Mitchell from Swindon in League Two. So some good quality there. And the only real departure was Dylan Kadji, who was starting centre mid, who had really good ball winning stats, creativity stats, and chipped in with 3 goals. So he seemed like he could do it, a bit of everything. But yeah, looks quite positive for them, I think, and I think they're going to have another good season. Just got a missing promotion places in 8th, so I do expect big things from them.
I haven't got them quite as high as that. I've got them 13th. It's interesting that they're sort of working their way back up the leagues after relegation to the Isthmian Prem a few years ago. They came up with Truro and what was an exciting battle to win that Isthmian Prem a few years ago. But unlike Truro, I haven't really kicked on, and I don't really see that quality in their squad that's going to enable them to do that. So 13th, they've obviously got some talent there. They're playing at a good level, but to expect them to go higher with that quality of the squad is not for me.
Yeah, I've got them in 12th place, mid-table, bang on mid-table for me. I think they had a really good last year in 8th place, just outside the playoffs, which I think surprised quite a lot of fans. Getting so near to the playoffs after what was a really tightly anticipated title race last season. So yeah, I think good arrivals, as you said, Sterling from leagues above, proven play. Leagues above, and kind of regretting putting them that far down, seeing as they came 8th last season, only departed one players have built on the squad well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see myself proven wrong, putting them in 12th place and maybe even push on for a playoff spot, which would be really good to see.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, moving on to final club, and probably speak for you as well, George, but definitely the club that I'm keeping an eye on the most in this division is Worthing FC, based in Worthing, West Sussex, founded in 1886. Very interesting one. Could probably speak about them all night, but we won't do that because we've been speaking for a while now. A few notable things going on going into the new season is they've got a new sponsor, which is called Drip. It's basically canned water, and that's owned by celebrity and TV star Big Zoo, a rapper. You might know him, but I like his music. Absolute legend. So even more funds coming in for Worthing with that sponsorship and that partnership, because he's been down the ground as well. That'll attract a few people, because I definitely want to meet him. He's jokes. Um, yeah, it's worth mentioning as well, George Dowell, the owner, took charge at the end of 14-15 season. He's pumped loads of money into it, hasn't he, since he had was it a car accident that he was involved in?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so he's pumped loads of money into Worthing, and that can be seen with the arrivals that they've had coming in. We touched on Raz Coleman de Graft, absolute baller. I mean, I can't wait to see him play. When we watched him for Worthing, he almost scored. When we watched him for Lewis, he almost scored an absolute weldy, if you remember, just cutting off the left, banged one, and I think it hit the bar. Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah, that game was mental as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Anointed Chukwu, who he touched on before, Kwaku Frimpong, Matt Burgess from Bognor, who was formerly AFC Bournemouth Academy, centre mid, looks good. And then probably the most exciting one is Brad Dollahan rejoining from West Ham. He actually was part of the team that lost the playoff final the season before last. He scored 8 goals in 11 games in the 23-24 season before joining West Ham, and he's just linked back up with the club. So, very excited for that. And I think statement signings there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think they're going to do really well. I got them 8th, so just really because of the quality of the clubs above them more than anything else. I think they could quite easily finish higher than that. I don't think they've got quite enough quality to finish higher, but that puts them sort of on the edge of the playoffs, and you get into the playoffs, anything could happen. I think they really missed their chance last season. Some of the defeats they had last season were quite astonishing, getting beat by St Albans twice and losing at Welling and Slough. But it's really those last 2 games that we saw when they drew with Eastbourne, Borough and Dorking that cost them, because winning just one of those games would have put them up, I think. So they might have missed their boat. But, it's, as you say, it's a club that's definitely going forward. When you look at some of these clubs in this division, they're quite obviously happy to tread water, as we've said, but there's something about Worthing. So, I'm looking forward to seeing them a few times this season. So 8th for me.
I wanted to ask a question to you both based on what you said, Dad, about some of the games they lost last season, and then obviously missing out last season on automatic, and then the playoffs, and then the season before that losing the playoff final. Does it seems like to me, I don't know what you guys think, but there's a bit of a weak mentality there in the club, and some of the players have been there for a while, and the manager, bit of a mentality problem potentially.
Maybe. It's difficult to know. They are not full time. So it goes back to what I said right at the beginning, where full time is such a huge difference
I
in
think they are
terms
full
of,
time.
you don't know what the background is to those defeats at Slough and at Welling, for example. Were they midweek games where 2 of the blokes turned up 20 minutes before kickoff, or maybe players weren't available because they couldn't get the time off work? It makes such a difference. I think if you went through their predictions and said, are they full-time or part-time footballers, most of the teams at the top are full-time. And I don't know if it's a mentality thing. They got players with Football League experience. Glenn Ray played for Brighton, for example. Jack Sprong. They've got that experience in the squad. I don't think it's necessarily that personally, but it's an interesting point. It'd be interesting to see where they do go, because if they're getting this sponsorship in that you were talking about from Drip, how close are they to being able to go full time? They've obviously got the huge disadvantage of Brighton just along the coast, which I think puts off teams like Lewis and Eastbourne Borough from going full time. If they were in a different part of the country, they might well take the plunge. But going from a part-time football club to a full-time football club is a huge leap. You need deep pockets to fund that.
No, yeah. I was going to talk about that, Sterling. I just think, they've been in the playoffs basis since they got promoted from the Eastbourne Premier Division. I think every single time they've, well, it hates me to say it, but they've kind of bottled it every time. Being the favourites to win the league in the league, and then just sort of falling off slowly as you come to the end of the season. And it's happened, I think, 2-3 seasons in a row now. So it's sort of the question of how many times can you let this happen before it all goes back downhill? I mean, I don't think it will happen, especially because of the owners and the quality of the squad they have. Bringing in Razak Coleman, DeGraft, Kawaki, Frimpong, really good signings. Brad Dilligan, as you said, really, really good player, who was at West Ham before. He's now joined back at the club. I think he'll be crucial if he stays fit for the whole season. I think he'll bang in the goals in this level. But losing Danny Cashman will be a loss for them. Going to Crawley as well as Mohamed Fowl. But I think they've replaced. I think they've replaced that quality up top very well in Brad Dillahan. So I'm excited to see what they do. I've got them in 4th place. I just think the quality of the league's grown and grown, as I've said a few times in this episode. So I think it will be a lot more tougher, seeing as the relegated sides from the National League barely even were very close to staying up in the divisions. That'll be a test of how they compete against sides from the league above. So, yeah, really interesting season for Worthing. I think it'll be a real test and a real exciting watch for us to go watch them a few times next season. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be keeping a close eye on Worthing for sure. I have them to finish second. I do think they're going to be really strong. And I actually thought they were full time. I don't know if I'm wrong by thinking that or whether Dad's.
There might be a few players in the squad that are full time, but as an overall squad, they're not. They're part time.
Right, okay.
Right, oh. I was wrong there. I thought they were full time. It does definitely make a difference, as we've said. But yeah, that's the end of our predictions. We'll see how many we got right at the end of the season. See how many we got drastically wrong. But looking forward to it. First game on the weekend for this league as well, not just Isthmian Prem. Is that correct, or is it the week after?
Every league up to the Championship's going to be starting now. So, yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait for the new season to start. Been waiting for weeks and weeks. So, yeah, buzzing Saturday. We will be going to Lewis Hampstead this Saturday, so can't wait for that. We will report back on that for when we do our next podcast after that. So, yeah, from me, really appreciate it. As we said before, these episodes will be longer as we are doing predictions and into detail information on each club. So when we get to the actual seasons, you won't see episodes as long as this. So yeah, that's from me. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Cheers for listening.